I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. You can get us on dreamchasersradio.com. That's dreamchasersradio.com, as well as every Monday at 11 a.m. on WCCF 100.9 FM iHeartRadio. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Okay, so look, I've been looking forward to this interview right here because I am like this UFO novice. I'm definitely not somebody that knows a lot about it, but I've seen them. Have you seen UFOs? I don't know. Let me see. I know some people have. Anyway, so, but whatever the case may be, I've always wanted to talk to someone who has written a book about it, who studied about it, who knows more than just me, which is a lot, which is mostly all of it. And I want to welcome my next guest to the show. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do, please.
Okay. First off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Bob Sablatura, and I used to be a science teacher for, over 25 years. I've got numerous degrees at university. I've got about 6 majors from university. I'm currently doing my PhD part-time at the University of Newcastle. And one of my pet loves is science per se. And why I went into the area and to investigate about UFOs is because when I was pretty young, about the age of about 11, a supposed UFO crashed in the local area that I was living in. And because this was only a local sort of thing, like you kept it within amongst ourselves for a little bit, and my father was able to get privy to a piece from the wreckage. And he'd actually done some testing on it, and that testing involved, using nitric acid, sulfuric acid, blow torches and the likes. And it was an unusual substance because it didn't react to anything. You could put a tremendous amount of weight on it and it wouldn't damage it. So it was actually very, very mind-provoking. Now, but to add, what is it, salt to a wound, if you like to add, put it that way. Mm-hmm. When I was 5 years old, I wasn't the average kid by any means, and I used to watch science programs quite, in a really big way, obsessively at the types thing. And one of my favorite characters was an American called Professor Summer Miller. And his later shows, Why Is It So? Now, he just was, to me, he was absolutely amazing. I thought he was the bee's knees. And when anything came to science, I always would think about him. I used to think that way, but not now, because I progressed and evolved from that. But this sort of thinking, to think logically, was very, very, very important about things. So to find out why is the situation, to what is, how, and the why was very, very important. And when I saw this stuff from the UFO, I thought that Eric von Däniken came into the scene. He was a character that was very flamboyant, and he made very big issues about things that were happening everywhere. And he was making some very large claims and exaggerated comments about what he previewed as being actually happening. Mm-hmm. And I looked at him and I said, this is not good enough. I can't agree with anything he's saying. So I then went to the American society called Blue Book, and in other words, the publication of information that was related to UFOs, how to disprove them. In other words, they went out there, this is a government organization, and they systematically went from UFO site to UFO site to UFO site. Okay, this is a problem. This is it. These are all wrong. So therefore, you didn't really see a UFO. I said, wonderful. Somebody is using objective logic with it, even though a lot of what they were doing was still wrong. But they came to a very crucial point. They used to be able to research 1,500 cases a year. And from 1,500 cases a year, they only got 150 they couldn't explain. Now, if you get 150 cases that you can't explain, then it must be something.
Right.
And this got my mind working. I said, okay, now if 150 cases something happened, then there must be some way of understanding what these things are. And I looked at it. Now, this drove me to go finish my high school, and I went to university, and I got my first qualifications in environmental biology. I got qualified in that area because I wanted to, I needed, a foothold. If these alien life forms exist in other places in the universe, what would they look like? And from studying biology, I found that when you got two environments which are exactly the same, organisms will develop and evolve to look the same. In other words, a good example in Australia, we've got something called a monitoring, it's something called an echidna. Now, an echidna is basically like a hedgehog or porcupine. They look very similar, but they're completely and utterly different. The Australian animal lays eggs and breastfeeds, whereas a porcupine, on the other hand, it's a marsupial. It gives birth to live young, and it breastfeeds. Both of them, both are mammals, but one's an egg laying and the other one is not. So how diametrically opposite can you get? Yet when you take photos of them, they look very similar. If you want to quickly have a quick discussion about sharks and dolphins, both have developed fins. Both have developed a dorsal fin and flippers. They've also got tails, but the tail is a similar shape, but rotated at different ways. The shark is vertical, the dolphin is horizontal. Therefore, given similar environments, organisms will evolve anywhere and anywhere when the environments are exactly the same. So in other words, now, this threw a grenade in step one of my research, but this doesn't explain to me how UFOs actually work and operate. Now, to me, I guess I went when I was in year 12. I had a lot of theories when I went. I had already developed, because by year 9 I was capable of doing university physics, and so to me. Advancing that theories and logical thinking, when I got to uni, I was beyond first year uni to begin with. So when I got to year 12, I went to a special meeting at the university and had all these ideas, and the people just looked at me and just said, well. And when I then went from a bachelor of then I went from biology into physics. And I got triple majors in physics. I got in physics, physical mathematics, electronics. I also got computing as majors. And I got another subject called science, technology, and society. Now, science, technology, and society is talking about the interrelationships between human beings and the environment and society. So in other words, when you're talking about foreign organisms living on other planets, what sort of societies and structures they would develop? And so all of this adds further to how I developed what I wrote in the book. Now, you can see that the more I talk, you find I've done quite a lot of study. Now, this is not the end of my story, because I went into teaching for 25 years, and therefore I got another qualification in respect to teaching. So, and all of this, it forced me to sit down and think about the theories and think about the physics again and again and again. And I'm now going to talk briefly about the book itself. Now, the book I published it doesn't say this is a UFO and how it works. What I've actually done is unified the laws of physics, which is something that nobody has done.
Okay.
The reason why I had done this in a way that has not been approached in the approach that I've taken. I went to one of the top professors at the University of Griffith University in Queensland. And I said to him, look, this is my ideas. What do you think? And his response, well, we have to rewrite all the laws of physics because of it. And I said, well, I didn't want to upset him. I said, look, I would like to go this and chase this way. He just walked off on me. He said, no, that we have to rewrite everything. And he said, he didn't say I was wrong. He just simply said, we would have to redo everything. And he didn't want to change the way he was doing things.
Oh, wow.
So what my book is basically trying to do is, first thing it does is approach relativity. Now, relativity says that nothing can go faster than the speed of light.
Okay.
Well, relativity is not strictly Einsteinian. It's actually also, I'll just get his name up again. I can't remember his name at the moment. Whoops, sorry.
Okay.
I think it's, I'm sorry about this. I'm just popping from different screen to different screen.
No, it's okay.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is this bloke? Oh God, no, that's not the one. It's the other one. Of course it is. It's the other one again. I'm sorry about this. I'm really
No, it's okay. It's okay.
The name of the gentleman is Henrik Lorentz. Now, Einstein's theory of relativity didn't come into existence because he co-worked with Henrik Lorentz, even though everyone accredits Einstein as being the creator of relativity. He actually didn't. He actually did it in in cooperation with Henrik Lorentz. Henrik derived all the equations to begin with. And they were letter buddies. They used to send each other correspondence and used to talk to each other on a regular basis. So Einstein's work is actually a derivation of Lorentz's theories. But coming back to relativity itself, it says that no physical object in our three-dimensional space can go faster than the speed of light. And if you look at the equations, I supply the equations and I show that that can't happen. But there's an underlying major flaw with all of this. And it's called Newton's laws. Now, in Newton's laws, Newton says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, when a force is created, there must be a correlating force to begin with. But when you add the two forces together, you must get a zero factor.
Okay.
It's simply, you can't just do something over here. Like it's like getting on a skateboard, holding a weight and throwing it. When you, and you must have seen photos, what happens when people throw something from a skateboard or on a trolley. What happens as soon as they throw the heavy object, they go in the other direction. One of the things I used to do is when I was a science teacher, I used to get, I don't mean to be mean, but I used to get the largest, heaviest individual to stand on one skateboard. And I got the smallest student in the physics class, which is usually, in year 11 when I usually did this, the year 11 students I'm talking about. And I used to get him to stand on the other skateboard. Now, what the little student had to do is push the big heavy student away. Now, guess what happens?
Yeah, they would go away too.
Yeah, they go apart, but the big person went very, very, very slowly. Whereas the little person went, boing, it went up in the other direction. But they both moved. They both moved. And if they were both the same size, and one person pushed both of them, and they were the same size, they moved apart equally at the same speed. Therefore, when you create a force, there must be always a corresponding equal opposite force to the one that you created. Now, how does this all tie in with UFOs and everything else? Well, the way I approached to unification is actually approaching what is dimensions. Now, a dimension, if you actually look at a dimension, it is the definition of a dimension is a line that you draw, a thin line, and that's it. Now, if you try to imagine one thin line that runs for infinity, you can't add anything else to it.
No.
That means once you create that line, you created an action to create that line.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there, but you can't have a width, a depth, or anything else to it. It just has to be a line. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what you are defining is a force. And this is what when I started talking about this to the professor, he acknowledged what I'm saying was most likely true, but he didn't want to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually said, well, if the first dimension of it is a force, what is the second dimension? Well, if the first dimension is a force, the second must be a force also. Therefore,
Right.
you got width.
Mm.
In other words, you got yourself a TV image. When you look at the screen, you see a two-dimensional image in front
Mm-hmm.
of you. It has a depth in the thickness of the atoms in that exists, but in all reality, because of the floating nature of the image, you can actually say it's a two-dimensional object.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know got the first two dimensions. Now we look at the third dimension. Now the third dimension is actually at right angles to the first. So that's one of the definitions for a dimension. It has to be always a force acting at right angles to the other previous dimensions. Well, if that is the case, then we now have solid objects. That gives us a cup, it gives us a TV set, it gives us who we are, it gives us as individuals. Then it comes to the next one. Well, if you're working at right angles to the previous ones there is, you've got the first three dimensions. How do you then represent it? Because our brains, our bodies, we're all three-dimensional. We think in three dimensions. So how do you represent a four-dimensional item in a three-dimensional mindset? The answer to that is you bring the first three dimensions down to a point. And then you then generate right from that point to, make a silhouette dot on a page, and you draw a line again. And then you draw another line again, and then you draw another line again. And when you do that, you then get gravity, then you get electrostatic fields, then you get magnetic fields, and believe it or not, that forms your next bubble, if you like to think. Then the next one after that, you get time. Now, so in other words, we're talking about time as a seventh dimensional effect, simply because the other three dimensions have already been used up before. So you've got a total of now 6 dimensions all working. Now, adding to all of this, none of this works at all unless you have all the other dimensions there working at the same time.
Right.
It sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
Wow, that sounds like a lot. It does. But I mean, then you get an object, like you said, and the object, if it's unidentifiable, then how come it is unidentifiable? I mean, if it's an unidentifiable object, that means that there's no record of it. That means that there's no tracing of it. It means it didn't take off here. It's not supposed to land here. There's no aviation records for it. So what is it?
I get to that right now.
Yeah. So we only have a couple more minutes. So I wanted to make sure that, but I wanted to make sure that people know what your book is, though.
Okay. But this is my book.
Right. What's the name of your book?
Yeah. What is it? Dark Matter, Unified Field Theory, UFOs, and the rest can be explained. But what makes this all possible is photons, light. Okay, photons is X-rays and everything else. When you get an electron and an anti-electron collide, they create a new particle. This new particle has an half a charge positive, half a charge negative. Because of the charges are opposite and rotating in opposite directions, they have common north and south. They have the charge because of the intensity of the electric field and the magnetic field rotating at the same time. It makes the particle disappear. In other words, moves from three-dimensional space into 5-dimensional space. And in other words, if you increase the electric fields on the surface of the object and be very careful about the magnetic fields, you can, and this is all related to frequency, because the higher the frequency, the lower the voltage you need to do it. As you increase the frequency, the object loses weight. It can reflect all the light around it. And once as it moves into 5-dimensional space, you can still see the object, but you can shoot a bullet through it and you won't damage it. And you can use an ion drive, or you can use collapsing magnetic fields is in conjunction with the electric fields, and the thing will speed away at tremendous speeds. And if you increase the intensity of the electric fields again, and be careful with the frequency, the ship will just vanish. It disappear. So in other words, the object can fly through a building and slowly materialize. You can see it in real life, and then when they wish to take it, because they're taking the field effects down to a lower level, they still have zero mass. They'll just sit there in the atmosphere because it has no effect on them because they have zero mass. And any action that it shoots off, it can shoot off it can disappear at the speed of light or any speed that they wish to choose at.
Well, so that just means that, okay, so right now there could be an alien ship in the sky and nobody can see it.
That's correct.
Oh,
yeah, that is correct.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Well, you see, I don't see it as scary at all.
I do.
Because they're more advanced than us, because their society had to evolve to a state where they can do the things they're doing.
Wow.
Not all of them will be violent. Most of them will be peaceful because they're coming here and studying us.
Right. And taking our cows and people.
Yeah, and there's also, because of the magnetic field effect, you can have time travelers. In other words, you can have people from the future. If you increase the strength of the magnetic field and then spin it around the vehicle that you've got,
that's crazy.
You can then shift it in time. But this is what I'm trying to get through my book. This is first edition. And I've been talking about it now for a little while. But you can see, if you read the first book, you can see where I'm going with it all. You really need to talk to me in person to be able to get the full depth of what I'm talking about.
Definitely. So how can people reach you and talk to you in person?
Well, I do have a Facebook page. You look my name up on the internet, you can see it there, and there is also the name of my book. And I think possibly that is the best way to try and contact me. Go through the Facebook page and approach me, and I'll endeavor to answer anyone's questions to the best of my ability.
Awesome.
A lot of this stuff has been taken out of context or exaggerated, and a lot of people panic. And when in reality, they should be using calm and logic. If you want to defend yourself against these UFOs, it's actually very easy. All you need is a maser, which is the same thing as a laser, but it uses microwaves. And you use this beam weapon on a UFO, and you shoot it down in half a second. But but do you want to declare on a civilization that is most likely far more advanced than we ever are, and then coming and start a war with them, because they'll have weapons that we will not have heard of, and wipe it out. So you'd be the dumbest thing in the world to actually shoot one of them down.
Definitely.
And therefore you have to approach a lot of this with caution. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who just don't get it all. And I've spent a very large part of my life, since I was about 14, 15, I'm now turning 62. You can gather that I spent most of my life reading or studying, trying to work all the stuff out. And as you gathered, I could talk on, there's a lot more information I can tell you.
Yes, definitely.
And then, I can talk about circuit diagrams. I can talk about, even alternative energy. I can talk about that too. I make references in the book, and there's a section in there where I can build a very, very simple device that will actually, you can get rid of local power stations by using it. Then actually set up, where the people have the step down transformers, you set up this device, it can supply a whole area with the electricity it needs. And this is not made up. I've demonstrated it in the classroom, and the kids actually looked and said, "Sir, but where's the energy coming from?"
Wow.
So,
man, I want to thank you so much. I hate to cut you off because we're out of time, but man, I'm telling you, I would love to actually talk to you or have you back on the show. You do have a survey that you're doing though, because you're doing your master's degree, or is it the doctorate degree?
It's my doctorate. It's on
the doctorate. Okay.
Yes, I'm halfway through it. I'm currently doing a conjoint doctorate with the Faculty of Education and the Faculty of Science. I'm a nerd. I have to forgive me. And I'm looking for science teachers I'm trying to develop a resource for science teachers to help them cope with the changing nature of science itself, because they need information with respect to teaching their topics. And I'm trying to create a resource whereby they can get access to the latest cutting edge scientific research, but adjusted in such a way so that you can use it in bite-sized levels so they can use it for the classrooms.
Awesome.
And I know that the National Science Teachers Association in the US have started something, but it doesn't address every state, and it doesn't address the specific syllabus. It needs to be, the information has to be one, cutting edge, because the kids find it motivational, the teachers find it motivational, and everybody gets very positive results from it. And what I need people, science teachers, to do the survey so I can get the raw data to argue my case, so I can get the funding to try and develop the resource.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, so you can see that I've got a lot of things in my book. Yeah, thank you. We should say thank you very much. And thanks for the time. And it's really nice been talking to you.
The pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. And we're going to have that link, and also a link to the book, right in the description box below this interview. So if you're listening to us, just go ahead and go down to the description box and click on that link if it's highlighted. If it's not highlighted, copy and paste that into your browser and click enter. We're going to have all of the information there, along, like I said, with the book, and a little bit more. So go ahead and read through that bio, and we might even put up a couple of other things and put links to that as well. So I want to thank you so much, Mr. I'm gonna do my best. Sablatura, right?
That's good. And it's actually supposed to be pronounced as Sablatura, but
Sablatura.
I'm very happy with that.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Sablatura, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. You're so knowledgeable. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your talent, your book, your knowledge with us, because it's important that we understand that, yeah, we could be like standing under a UFO like right now.
Yeah, we could very well be, and we wouldn't even know it.
We wouldn't even know it. I'm scared now.
No, the thing is, the government is actually doing things without you knowing about it, and they've tested.
Oh, I know that.
You know,
they're doing things without they're not doing things. They're doing things, and then they're saying they're doing things, and they're not doing things. So whatever.
I know, it's, you know, you don't know what they're doing. Really, you don't.
You don't know. You just don't know. But thank you so much again for being on the show. I appreciate it.
I really have to say thank you. You've been fantastic and a wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for tuning in to Dream Chasers Radio. And don't forget to dare to be different, guys, every single day. Until next time.
The book is on, you can find it on Amazon.
Yes, definitely. We're gonna have that in the description box. All of that. It's gonna be right there. See that? Right there. Did you see that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks again.
All right.
All right.
I dare to be different. 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 I dare.